they took me as close to it as they possibly could because it's in the Alps. There's only so many roads that you can take. It was foggy, it was rainy, and it was the darkest I've ever been in my life. I had all the lights on and I still couldn't see. And I could only see maybe 10 to 15 feet in front of me. That's how dark it was. The light just didn't want to go farther than that. And here's the other thing. These woods are fucking haunted. They are haunted because World War I battleground, death all around you.
Yeah.
Death. Over the radio, I hear one of the infantry guys, and he's like, something's fucking following me. He's like, I keep looking over there. I can see its eyes. He went radio silent for a while because he got to his point, and they were just walking around the point looking at him. He said it was just like pairs of eyes just going like this around him. Afterwards, during the day, because the eyes went away, he never could tell us what he thought it was. He said, I think it was wolves. But the locals say there are no wolves out here. But what else travels in a pack and circles you? Welcome back to another episode of the Barracks Party, another spoopy season edition. Last week we talked about Bree Powers. She's fucking nuts. She's fucking nuts. Like then like I've noticed my Bree Powers algorithm has kind of like waned since then. There has been a few updates with her though. One of them being like she was outside of her job at these construction workers thinking that her landlord was harassing her and that these dudes were just watching her and shit. And she does her whole shaky camera of zoom in, zoom out, zoom in, zoom out, shaky, zoom in, zoom out, zoom in, zoom out. It's just so fucking nauseating. But Blake brought up a good idea and that we should just kind of like stand at the corner far away from her shop and just stare and like at random parts of the day show up in her life at a distance and just be like looking at her so she sees the same person staring at her from a distance to where she doesn't even know if that person's real and just start fucking with her, just manipulating her mental health issues. That's all.
Oh man, that wouldn't get us in trouble at all. It'd be funny.
Technically, what would you be in trouble for?
I feel like if you did it enough, it could be considered stalking.
Well, if you do it right and you show up in places where it'd be like, it's a place that you would normally go, you just happen to run into her. There's no way for them to know that, like, that's where she's going to be.
Or just start
legally.
start walking past her place where she can see you through the window. And every day you get weirder and weirder. Like you wear the same thing, but alter it slightly. Make her feel like she's in some Twilight Zone shit. And she's like, what the fuck? Yeah.
Hey, she's not a good person, okay? This is funny because she's not a good person. She's kind of a shitty person, so it's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bree Powers is nuts. A lot to talk about today. We got some spoopy things to talk about between Native American burial grounds, which is something they found recently. Actually, whoa, no, this wasn't recent at all. This is March 2016.
And in 2014. It's happened a few times. So, like, for a lot of people, this, especially if you were on Fort Benning, this isn't new news to you, but new news to us.
A lot of Native American remains get found on military installations, and the reason why is because back in the day, the military was kind of really shitty to them. So they built they built bases on places they shouldn't have, which might explain why everything sucks on them.
And let's be honest, also probably put a few down on some really old bases on some firing squad type shit and just kind of left them there, or gave them a shallow grave. So that probably would explain some of them too, which is fucked up and wrong. Wrong, but that's an explanation for it. Yeah.
Also with Fort Benning, apparently there's a Reddit thread we found from a few years ago about the witch in the Fort Benning land nav course. I have my own spooky land nav stories. Not at Fort Benning though. This one, so when I was in Italy, our land nav course was in the Dolomites. So like up in the Alps at on the Austrian and Italian border. in the land nav court. It was like outside of Asiago, Italy, and yes, the cheese. It was right outside of Asiago, Italy. It was up in the mountains, and it was by a ski resort. But those woods out there was an old World War I battleground. So there's trenches, there's caves, there's craters, and they had us go out there and set up for. Do you know what EIB is?
Mm-mm.
Expert Infantryman's Badge.
Okay.
So it's kind of a course that infantrymen take. You know, kind of like it's a, you know, a little prestigious thing that you fucking infantry guys like to do. You know, it's like kind of like another little sticker to put on your uniform. So we had to create the land nav course for EIB, and it was there, and we had to go out there the night prior. Like we were out there at night during the day, and then we had to go out there and sit on the point at night and wait because the land nav started at like dark 30 in the fucking morning, and we were all point sitters. So we had to go sit on the point. We had to go, and it wasn't just like we set up the point and we sat out there and waited. No, we set up the point, and and they gave me the farthest point away, which is 4 kilometers away from the start point, and which isn't far, but when you're in the fucking Alps, 4 kilometers is far.
Yeah.
When you're in the fucking mountains like that, and I don't mean just mountains, I mean mountains. It's far because you're going up and down, up and down, up and down the whole way. So it's really far. I had to go. They basically like you had to walk to your point at night. You had to do night land nav to do a point sit, even though you knew where the point was. You knew how to get there. It's just the process of getting there sucked. And I'll go into it a little more because there's a lot of weird shit that happened, not even just to me, but to other people that were going to their points. People calling over the radio, like saying they're seeing shit.
That's awful.
It was great.
One either in Italy or Greece. I can't remember because they were so like these little the field activities we did were so close together with both militaries that my memory just can't remember which country it was in. But I had a very spooky, like, sleep deprivation moment. And that's all it was. Like, it wasn't anything paranormal. But it was, like, so sleep deprived. I was, like, actively seeing shit. And I was like, oh, my God. It scared the shit out of me.
I wasn't seeing things, but I was hearing things. And I've never been in a darker place in my life. And I mean, like, dark environmentally. This was the darkest place I've ever been, and I had 3 light sources. I had a headlamp and 2 fucking massive flashlights. I was walking with white light. Didn't care. It was you couldn't see more than 10 feet in front of you with light. That's how dark it was. And it was like, and then the other thing, you got to watch for the hazards because the trenches, some of them are like 6 feet deep, and you don't see them until you walk up on them. So there's that.
God.
Also, after we talk about the witch on the Fort Benning land nav, we're going to talk about Wendigos. So, and I know if you're native, you're going to be like, hey, don't talk about Wendigos because the Native American cultures do not want you talking about it. And you remember when I said that, like, I couldn't find like a really good movie on them because there's very few of them. There's a reason why, is because like the Native American cultures and societies out there do not want Hollywood making movies about them.
I believe that.
Because they think that it is like, some of them are like, it's cultural appropriating. They're the really stupid ones that are doing that. The other ones are more of like on the superstitious side of like, hey, you're going to manifest this shit. Don't talk about it type thing. But then you got the other ones that are just like, you know, the fucking purple-haired people. They are all, oh, don't do that because it's not your culture to talk about. You know, like those kinds of people.
Social justice warriors.
Yeah, I hate those fucking people so much.
Speaking of a good Wendigo movie, have you ever seen The Ritual?
Yep. And that's not a Wendigo.
It's not? I thought it was.
Nope.
What is it?
It's a Norse creature. Similar to a Wendigo, but it's not. So what?
Very well.
Fuck, what was it called? The name was on the tip of my tongue. What was the creature? And it was in Sweden when they did this. What was the creature from the Ritual movie.
A Jotun.
Yes, a Jotun.
Gotcha. The offspring of Loki. That's right.
Jotun. The Jotun is Jotun is a giant. So, yes, it was a Jotun. It wasn't a Wendigo. It was a Jotun. Although, like, it was very Wendigo-esque in appearance. It was not a Wendigo, because the way that like Wendigos work, they're kind of like creatures of revenge in a way. Like they're often manifested from, like, oddly enough, environmental crimes.
Isn't like another piece of like the lore of a Wendigo? Or maybe that's a skinwalker. I think I'm thinking of a skinwalker where you like go into cannibalism and you just turn into this
No, that's Wendigo.
hungry beast.
That's Wendigo.
That is okay.
Wendigo. Yeah, it's a mythological cannibalistic monster in the spiritual tradition of North America Algonquin-speaking tribes.
Gotcha.
We'll dive into that, and then we're going to talk about fucking aliens, because apparently it was more or less confirmed in Congress that they're real. And the other weird thing is that apparently they are not from other planets. They're from here.
Yeah. Well, this is also like the second time this has happened, by the way.
Is that mind-blowing that they're actually from here?
Mm-hmm.
How does that work?
I don't know, but it's mind-blowing. Maybe the lizard people are real.
They're not extraterrestrials. They're not extraterrestrials at all. They're from here.
Yeah.
So what are they?
I don't know.
But it's also kind of a fucking bummer.
Kind of.
Because
still crazy.
Is Earth really the only planet that sustains life? Is it really? Because there are more planets in our universe than there are grains of sand on the planet Earth. And that's it, even if you account for each grain of sand being 5 billion planets. There's more planets than there are grains of sand on the Earth. And yet only one of them has life?
Well, you got to think too, though. Like, what if we are just the most advanced life forms out there? You know what I mean? Like, I do believe
that's
that there
depressing.
are planets with life on it. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's been proven. But we might be the most advanced out there.
That sucks to think, because we're not that great at things. We're pretty shitty. Like, human beings are pretty fucking shit, you know? So it's like,
yeah,
I want there to be a more advanced race out there in the cosmos, and that we can't be the only smart ones. Come on. And we're not even that smart on the grand scale of things. Like, we're just good at figuring things out. I guess you could say that's smart, but at the same time, it's like, dude, we really can't be the only advanced race out there. Statistically, that can't be possible, right? Because we're Earth being in the inhabitable zone, apparently, like, if you really think about it, the things that make Earth livable is an anomaly in its own. Mm-hmm. All the things that make life possible on Earth is the absolute perfect condition you can ever get. We have the correct star, for starters. Mm-hmm. We sit at the correct distance from said star. The correct materials that made the Earth in a way that it gave it an atmosphere and a magnetosphere, which, by the way, those that don't realize this, the magnetosphere, because we just saw the Aurora, right? Mm-hmm. The magnetosphere is what causes the Aurora, right? The Northern Lights. And what that is that we are being hit constantly by radioactive solar winds from solar flares and other kind of solar winds that happen that the sun emits. So the sun was at what was called a solar maximum over the last year. So that's why we've seen so much aurora activity, like even like as far south as Florida, because my buddy, he lives in Florida, Tony, and he saw them.
Really?
Yes. You have to, now you can't see it with the naked eye. You have to turn the exposure up on your phone. But he saw them, and the photos that he got in Florida were better than mine, and I'm in Wisconsin. I'm way north, way far north from him. So he could see the aurora. The reason why is the sun is at what was called a solar maximum, which means massive solar activity, massive solar flares, constant solar flares. And our magnetosphere protects us from solar radiation. We are the only planet that we know of that has this. No other planet has this.
Okay.
I didn't know that. We think Mars might, but the other reason why that we have a magnetosphere is because our core moves.
Okay.
So because our core moves, it's conductive, so it makes a magnetic field. So the magnetosphere protects us from this. And what happens is when that solar radiation hits our planet from the solar winds, imagine like the magnetosphere, the way the magnetic flow goes, it goes south to north, like that. Mm-hmm. And that's why when the radiation hits, all the ions that hit, that like react and stuff in the atmosphere and the magnetosphere are all in the north, because it all routes it to the north. And that's just where you see it. All the reactions from the ions and the molecules in the air cause the aurora. That's why you see it.
I didn't know that it protected us from
yeah. If we didn't have the magnetosphere, the sun would cook us all. We would die. We would be cooked by radiation. Life would not be sustainable. Even though we have an atmosphere, the magnetosphere is what protects us from the solar radiation. Without it, we'd all be dead.
I didn't know that. That's actually really cool.
So, and that's why we have the Northern Lights, kids. Now you know science. My wife's like, "You're so smart." I'm like, "I just remember things that I learned. Come on."
You're like, "I just remember things I found interesting."
Yeah, pretty much.
Speaking of not wanting to be the only, like the most advanced in the cosmos, I am waiting for the day that some just genius alien life forms come down and they go, "Hey, we've been watching you for a very long time, and we've been broadcasting Earth as a television series on our planets in the Federation.
This
and
season
we
sucks.
We finally feel like that y'all are ready to join the Federation. So here you go.
Here's your series finale, kids." But
the series sucks.
The series had a really shitty ending. It was like Game of Thrones all over again. We're just gonna fucking cut our losses and end it. But no, there's like the whole thought of like, it's kind of a scary thought if you think about it, because if you really look at what advanced civilizations do based off of our history, we eat the lesser of the advanced. So if you really look at the food chain, we think that we're atop of the food chain intellectually because we eat other animals, right? So all the other non-intelligent animals we consume and we eat. And if aliens are like us, they would do the same thing to us.
Which I was going to say, like, I feel like we'd have a good chance fighting back, but there's also, like, we have learned how to, for example, like pufferfish. They shouldn't be consumed, but we've learned how to cut around their defensive mechanisms from being eaten and be safe.
And safely eat them. Yeah.
So it's a good point.
So they navigate our nuclear arsenal just to fucking eat us. It wouldn't be hard to do, honestly. If they're advanced enough to fucking come here, then they're advanced enough to like just say, "Hey, guess what? Your nukes don't work anymore." Boom. We ate the nukes.
we ate the nukes. Or they just come on, you try to nuke them, and they're like, "Hey guys, we've actually evolved past being affected by nuclear radiation. Our bodies are immune to it. We don't get cancer." So you exploded a few of our dudes, but most of us are fine.
But y'all do. You just cooked yourselves. Congratulations, Earthlings. Yeah, but like just the Idiots. Thought. It's just the thought of like, yeah, and then my wife, she the thought of like us being the only intelligent species in the universe is kind of depressing. I mean, yeah, everyone's like, "Oh, but how lonely that is." It's not even that it's lonely. It's just that like we're not even that good.
No.
I like to think I like to think that there's a society out there or a race of living beings and intelligent beings out there that are they're better than us.
Mm-hmm.
But there's just
Speaking of, I just thought of this with the whole like evolving past like radiation killing you. right? Like
Mhm.
slowly with cancer. I feel like to be able to travel through space effectively and often, you would have to have some sort of evolutionary period to where that doesn't affect you anymore. Because like think about the dudes that went to the moon. Like didn't a lot of them get cancer? Because the atmosphere on the moon doesn't really protect you from the radiation of the sun.
I well, you also have to remember the guys that went to the moon. They went in the fucking 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
Our technology has advanced well beyond that. Because I mean, otherwise, everybody that goes to the space station would be fucking cancer ridden too.
I wonder. I need to read
Because
into that. I'm
they're out in
curious about
space.
that.
They're
If there's a higher chance.
they're exposed in space, in orbit.
Yeah.
They're outside of an atmosphere. They're just in that weird little perfect spot that floats around our orbit. Like those guys go out there all the time, and they don't. They're not affected by it. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know if because didn't Buzz Aldrin, he died, right? Buzz Aldrin.
I think so.
Let's see. No, he's still alive. Buzz Aldrin's 94 years old. He's still alive. That's crazy.
Okay, yeah. Yes, astronauts have a higher risk of developing cancer due to their exposure to radiation in space.
I have a feeling Buzz Aldrin's going to die at the end of the year.
So astronauts do have a much higher chance of cancer. Also, speaking of cancer, if you do nicotine pouches,
don't do rugs.
Zen and Own, I think, are the two safe ones. A lot of the other ones have been found to have formaldehyde in them. I remember during the shortage, I got really into Velo. Come to find out that has formaldehyde in it and has a higher chance of giving you cancer than cigarettes do. And what is it? Rogues eat away at the calcium in your teeth. So if your teeth are sensitive and you do Rogues, switch to Zen.
You know why
I learned that the other
Zins
day,
aren't
so
as bad? Well, here's the thing, right? So I have a pack of Zins from Europe, right? Because my local gas station, they got them straight from Sweden. I want to show you the label on the back of this thing.
Can't see it.
Okay, hang on.
Whitewashed.
Do you see these little symbols?
Yes.
The one on the left is corrosive, is the corrosive material symbol.
Oh.
And the other one is an exclamation mark. And I don't, because it's not in English, so I don't know what that means, because the American ones don't have that.
I wonder if there's different ingredients that go into those ones.
But they're European. The Europeans are very strict of what goes in their products, right?
It does cause gum recession, so maybe that's why that's on there.
Zyn pouch is safer than smoking, but still pose risks. This was in April, but like, what is the sign? Why is there a fucking corrosive material sign on the Zyn cans? The European ones, I should say. I don't know. I can't find anything about it, right? I can't find anything about it. But there's a corrosion sign, and I noticed that when I bought these. I'm like, what the fuck? What are these on here for? These aren't on the ones we have, because I even have American ones. They just look like that on the back. And then you have these.
Might also. Why the fuck does the back of your can look like that? What the fuck? What's that black? I don't have the black bar on the back of mine.
That looks like the expiration date.
Mine's just white.
It's the best before date. And then it's got the QR and it's got a QR code on it for the rewards.
Yeah. I got the QR code.
See, they used to have you peel away and you had to enter the reward number. Which was
I found an old can while moving, that unopened 6 milligram Cool Mint. And it was the peel away. I was like, oh my God, this is an old ass can.
Let me show you something. I'm going to show you guys something.
Oh, he's digging through. What's he digging for? Is there all the old ones?
Because I haven't collected the reward numbers off of them yet.
Oh, dude, you need to. I let mine stack to about 5 to 10 high. And then I'm like, okay, cool. I need to clear off. I let it consume my desk. It's terrible. And then I'm like, okay, time to get all the rewards. Because I like getting a whole bunch of them at one time.
She's like, you know, with as many of it's like, why do you throw them away? I keep forgetting that there's a reward number on the back of them. So I was like tossing them and shit. So, but yeah, I used to have more than that. These are just the ones that I haven't redeemed yet. I would put them in this box, right? And then I would let them pile up, put them in this box. And then as I was redeeming them, I'd throw them in a trash bag.
Yeah.
Do you think I have an addiction? I mean, look at that. Do you think I have a problem?
How many points do you have on your account? Do you know?
I'll have to look.
And this is like I was doing Zen for like a year before I even looked at the back of the can. Because Zen rewards was not something I thought about until someone had to say it to me. They were like, yeah, you peel it away, there's Zen rewards codes on the back. And I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, I know, right? And there was a while that I knew it. I knew it, but I just never fucking redeemed them, you know?
I started redeeming them, like 2 years ago. So I just recently, the other day, redeemed a $100 Amazon gift card from their rewards.
I apparently only have 30 points.
So 305.
That can't be. I know I have fucking more than that. How did I lose points? Did I lose points? Let's look at what the rewards are here.
Divided by 15.
So 15 points. Points collect points. Shop rewards. Get 15 points for every reward code, and look out for chances to earn bonus points. There's no way that I only have 30 points. I've never redeemed any of them. Yeah, like, so you get gift cards, t-shirts,
coolers, grills, flat screens,
fucking a record player for no reason. The metal Zen cans.
That might be my next one, just because fuck it.
I'll
probably never use it.
But they're cool. Just like open your Zen pouches and throw it in the metal can. A Samsung Smart TV for 10,000 points.
I might get the who is it? Tales from the Grid Square on Instagram. He partnered with someone that makes metal Zen cans, and they made one with his logo on it. I might go get that one.
Really?
That thing's sweet. Yeah.
A rangefinder for 6,700 points. A cooler, a Yeti cooler, Osprey Arcane Waste Pack. What's Can Jam?
That's a fun game.
Apple AirPod Pro. Smokeless fire pits, Garmin dash cams. You get all kinds of weird. MetaQuest 3.
Yep. Just random shit. I love it.
There's a lot of actual pretty cool rewards. Is that an espresso machine? No, it's a Keurig. But yeah, there are some really cool rewards out there. Only thing is, it's like, just out of curiosity, let's redeem a point. Let's redeem one real quick, okay? So using your phone's camera app, scan the QR code on the back and receive your points. Enter up to 60 codes per month. You're limited now?
I didn't know that. I've never reached the limit, though. I don't even go through. I mean, that's going through 2 a day.
Bro, I didn't even realize that there was a limit now. Since fucking when? Let's do the QR code real quick. Let's see it.
I just did the math on mine after redeeming the gift card, and adding up, all the other points I have left. I've gone through 237 Zen cans since I've found out about the rewards.
And that's just that's just the ones that you redeemed.
Yeah, just the ones I've redeemed. Let's go $5 a pop.
That one was 15. So each can is 15 points. What?
I have spent on the ones that I've redeemed at $5 a pop. So it's going to be more. I've spent $1,185 on Zen that I can track.
How many points do you have?
I have like 300 now because I redeemed. It was 3,250 points to get the gift card. I have 305 right now.
I have 60 points now. 2 cans just gave me 30 points. See, that's the thing, right? So I've redeemed so many cans, so I've lost points.
I don't know how.
I don't either.
You had to have like redeemed.
I didn't redeem anything. I haven't redeemed anything. See, look, now I have 60 points. I don't get it. Like my fucking, maybe it's because the points. Yeah, I never redeemed anything. Maybe it's because the points were just very low when I was redeeming them. Like it was like a couple points per fucking can.
See, it's always been 15 for me since I learned about it.
I know, and I know I've redeemed several hundred points worth. There's no fucking way that I've only redeemed 2 cans.
That's strange. Someone might have hacked in and just taken whatever the fuck.
That's bullshit.
Did you check your address? Did you check your address on your account? Make sure nobody like changed it to theirs. Maybe you have a second account for some reason.
Oh, 420 points expired?
What?
They expire? They expired in May.
That's how long does it take for Zen rewards to expire? Where did you see that?
I'm looking at it right now. It says points history, points added, anniversary bonus, and birthday bonus, and then it said expired minus 420. How long before your Zen points expire? 6 months?
What? Oh, dude, I'm going down the rabbit hole because I've redeemed so many of these fuckers. Birthday bonus, 30 points.
Your points will only expire if you go 6 months without redeeming any.
Oh, okay. I've never waited that long.
So this person says, I've had it happen. Like, how did you know about this? I said, I've had it happen. I started to build up my codes for nearly a year. I had about 700 points on the website before I started to build up my codes. About 2 months ago, I decided to start redeeming codes again. I only had 30 points gifted for my birthday. They'll definitely disappear if you don't keep your account active. So you have to keep redeeming them. Otherwise, you lose them. This person said, I lost 2,000 points because I took a break from redeeming. I have so many cans that I was just going to do.
That sucks ass.
I'm probably going to contact them and be like, hey, like, I kind of just took a break from redeeming. I was still going to redeem when I started buying pouches again. And now all my points are gone. Like, what the fuck? And it's also funny because the U.S. pouches are the only ones that give you those. The European ones don't.
Interesting.
I know. So all you Zen people out there, use your fucking reward points because you can get some cool shit. And you're already spending the money on fucking nicotine anyway. So might as well just make your money work for you, I guess. That's one way to say it. I mean, I'm curious. How many? So if you're getting 15 points per can, do the math on this.
Mm-hmm.
I need you to do the math on this. Okay, so where is the reward? Let's go look at what the rewards are.
Okay, so 15 points per can.
15 points per can. How many cans would it be to get? Let's look for a high dollar item here. Where's the TV at? Just for giggles and shits. 10,080 points.
10,080. It'd take you 672 cans.
God damn. At $5 a pop, how much is that?
672. $3,360.
Jesus Christ, bro. How much is this? How big is this TV? I want to know.
50 inches. I looked at it the other day.
Look, it's a third gen from 2022.
Oh, it's not even new.
No, it's not even a fucking new TV. So let's look it up. So let's look up 50-inch Samsung Smart.
I'm calling it $150.
Smart TV. Best Buy. Let's look at Amazon real quick. It's $400. You'll spend more money on Zen than you will on the TV if you bought the TV by itself.
You can get 8 of them for the cost that it would take for you to get the amount of Zen cans to redeem it.
And that's just off Amazon. I mean, Best Buy obviously like fucking probably has it for more. Let's look. 50-inch TVs on sale. Let's see. See, this is what the Barracks Party is all about, kids. It's even cheaper. Actually, no. Let's see. What is this one? What kind of TV is this one? Because that's actually going to determine like the value of it. Because it's a 50-inch smart TV, but what are the specs? So it's a 50-inch Samsung smart TV, 4K processor. Okay, that's really all it says. So on Best Buy, it's $600. So still nowhere close to what you would be spending on the Zins, right? Now let's look at the Meta Quest 3, right? And this is just the standard ass Meta Quest 3. It's not the new smart, like the new one. It's even more points, 13,500 points.
Okay.
How many 15 points a can.
900 cans.
900 cans. All right. How many?
$5 a pop. $4,500.
You want to know how much a Meta Quest 3 is? It's like $500 to $600, maybe $400. So honestly, these reward points are not worth it.
Well, the way I see it, if you're going to be doing it, you might as well just collect the points and then one day, you know? I mean, shit, what did I just spend? What did I say? I think it was $32.50. Okay. $32.50 divided by 15. Or not $32.50. What's the $100 Amazon card? What's that worth since you're there?
$32.50.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Okay, divided by 15. That's 217 cans times 5. I spent $1,085 to get a $100 Amazon gift
Here's
card.
the thing, though. There's only 365 days in a year. You would have to be going through more than one can a day in order to fucking be able to like make these points, like use these points to get these things. Otherwise, it's going to take you years to actually get one.
It took me 2 years to get the Amazon gift card.
Yeah.
Which at the same time, like I was saying, I'm already using them. I might as well redeem the points. And then when I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah, but like, you know, looking at all this shit, like seeing how many points you get, plus you get the bonus points for your birthday. Happy birthday, you get 30. Thank you. That's cool and all. But I mean, the amount of money you're spending on fucking nicotine, you might as well have just gone and bought the fucking thing yourself.
Oh, 100%. And just kept the rest of the money.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Don't get into it. Don't get into bad habits.
Honestly, this just go. I was about to say this goes to show you that bad habits do not pay off.
No, they do not.
They cost you more than they profit you. That's unfortunate. Damn, I was really hoping that the points would be worth a shit.
I'm about to, for the next 2 months, I think I'm gonna, every time I go and buy a can, I'm going to put the equal value into my savings account. Whatever I spend on it, I'm transferring extra into my savings account for 2 months and see how much money I have.
Also, every time
be a couple $100, but
for me, it'd probably be more. I go on an average. I go through 3 cans a week.
I think I'm about the same.
So if I go through 3 cans a week, that's about after taxes and everything. That's about $18 a week. That's almost $1,000.
Yeah, $936.
So I spend roughly $1,000 a year on fucking nicotine. So at the end of the year, probably close to $2,000. So
which I think about it. I'm like, in the grand scheme of things, it's not that bad.
It's not that bad.
It's not that bad. In a year, come on.
In a year,
I make about 20. I make about 28 of those in a year. Oh, that makes it even worse now.
How so? What do you mean?
That makes it even worse. I don't make a lot of money through through just work. I make about 28K. I'm taking 1K of that away and putting it in Zen. Like over 50%, I think, is going to rent and gas. How do I survive?
I mean, honestly, it makes me wonder the same thing. I mean, now that I'm 100% and shit, so it's like, I don't know.
That makes me think, though, living off of just a very little bit of money people that are like, I make $70K a year and I can't afford to live. I'm like,
how?
In my mind, I'm like, how? I make way less than you do, and I'm fine.
I could tell you how. People that make more money tend to live beyond their means.
True.
They really do. True. They tend to live beyond their means. Like it's just one of those things where they make more money, their lifestyle changes because their lifestyle gets more expensive. They don't keep their broke lifestyle. Like if I kept, for example, if I all of a sudden started making $70,000 to $100,000 a year, but if I kept my house, which if I'm going to be honest, if I'm making that, I'm not staying in this house. I'm moving. Mostly because my house is small. Granted, my mortgage is like less than $1,000 a month, and I got a 3% interest rate. So I'm sitting pretty good with that. I just don't want this house anymore.
And that's why right there.
And that's why
I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but yeah, it's a good point. You start seeing all that money and you're like, I can afford more. You know?
But it's not even that. It's like I can afford more, but it's hard because I know that like if I go and I get a different house, I'm going to be paying so much more just because of the rates alone.
Mm-hmm.
And like
I think they're at like 4 or 5% now.
Huh?
I think they're at like 4 or 5% now.
Try 7.
7 where you're at?
No. Oh, yeah. Almost. It's going up to almost 7 right now.
Daggum.
My rate right now, if I were to refinance, I would be fucked. But like right now, my rate is 3.
That's such a good rate.
Well, comparatively now, yeah, but you know what they were? So if I'd have waited to refinance until I got to its lowest, it would have been 1 something.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been 1.7 is what I was looking at. But I didn't want to take the chance of like the rates going up and I missed out on the fucking lower rate, you know? What I should have done was I should have just waited and watched and then see it get to its low. And then obviously hindsight's 2020, but like all that shit. But you know, my rate now is lower than it was when I first bought the house. My mortgage rate, I think, when I bought the house was about 5, 6, mostly because of my credit score at the time. And that's just what rates were. And then like the property values were really low. Rates were okay. They weren't crazy. But I mean, like a year ago, rates were like fucking 12, 13, 14%.
Yeah.
That's people that got into mortgages with
VA?
that fuck themselves. Yeah, I use the VA loan.
Was it pretty?
So the good thing about the VA loan is that you don't need you are exempt from PMI, which is primary mortgage insurance. You don't need to put a down payment.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing. The other thing is, it's like unless you're married, the house is 100% in your name.
Mm-hmm.
Which, in the end, when I bought this house, saved me because my ex wanted to be on the house, but because we weren't married, I wasn't allowed to. And I know she was really trying to get this house for me when she dumped me. Mm-hmm. And the only reason why I know that is because like her family was encouraging me to sell it, and she told me before she left if anything were to happen to us, she'd want what she put in this house back. So she was gonna, not only was she gonna dump me, but she was gonna take what she could out of me, and found out that she couldn't because I used a VA loan and the house was in my name.
Nice.
And because we weren't married, she has no entitlement to it, even though
she legally can't do shit.
Even though we were together for a decade and lived together for a certain amount of time, where in the state of Wisconsin, once you live together for a certain period of time, you are considered an illegal domestic partnership. But because which means that like if let's say that you and Kate lived in Wisconsin and you lived together for 5 years in one house, and by something happening, you guys split. In Wisconsin, she's entitled to half of the house. I forgot the name of the law.
That's wild.
But because I used a VA loan, it's funded. It was a loan through the federal government. And she had no entitlement to it.
Interesting.
So I know she was trying to do it, I know she was, and could not. So, and then I won in the end, didn't I? I really did.
Mm-hmm.
Look at me. Look at me.
Look
You
at
know,
I thought you just weren't a provider. I didn't love you anymore.
and it's just like I make more money. Yeah, well, I make more money than you, and I'm about to go fucking move. So fuck you.
I'm a software engineer and I make money now.
And it's like, you're lazy. You just sit in there and play video games. I'm like, yeah, but I make money now, so fuck you. I don't give a shit what you think. Ha 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 ha. See, it doesn't pay to be a fucking shitty person. It doesn't pay to be a shitty person at all. The grass isn't always greener on the other side. Focus watering your own grass.
Oh, that's good.
I love it so much because I often think about it like, you know, if people are like, oh, he's still like not over his ex. Oh, dude, I'm way over it. I'm so fucking happy in my marriage. I met a girl. I have a hot wife now, and like she makes good money. She's college educated. Like we actually met with a financial advisor, and I don't want me to put this in people's faces because I know that a lot of people are not doing well financially. The only reason why I'm saying this is because, like, I have come from a very bad financial situation, but I figured out how to get out of it. And that was just by stop spending money on shit. And prepare. That's the other thing. Preparation is key because the situations like the economy is right now, had I not prepared, I'd be fucked. I'll put it this way. I think I told you about this. I blew $80,000 in 4 months.
Yeah, you did tell me that.
I was broke, account overdrawn. Just like there was a while where like overdrafts were a common thing for me. And then I just hated the feeling of it. And then when I was working, I lived like I was broke. And if I would let my account build up, and if it got below to a certain point, I just wouldn't spend it at all. Like it was just like, we're just spending on bills. Anything else is just, we'll eat fucking ramen at home type shit. And that started growing and growing and growing. And then like when the disability happened, like I got the back pay from that, and I was working and I was going to school. So I was able to save more. And then, yeah, it was just a bunch of fortunate events, but it took a lot to get there. A lot. Credit score was shit. That was another thing. My credit score, I honestly have to thank my wife for a lot of this because she helped me with a lot of the financial shit to get me out of certain things. Like she helped me pay off my credit cards, which weren't much anyway. It was only like a couple $1,000s in credit cards. So I paid off my credit cards. I paid off a medical bill that I had because I wasn't being seen through the VA. And here's this thing. $1,500 medical bill. You know what it was for? A COVID test.
What?
In the beginning days of COVID.
A test that was free for a long time. You just had to go through a drive-through.
Yeah, here's the thing. When the COVID test first started, they weren't free. They were charging people's insurance. But they also had no idea what they were going to charge. I'm like, how is this going to be billed to me? How is this going to be billed to me? We don't know. We don't know if insurance is going to cover it. We don't know if the government's going to say it's free. We don't know. Okay. A year later, I got a bill from the hospital, $1,500. And I was like,
that's insane.
And I was like, what? And this was like, they sent me the bill after the state said that COVID tests are free.
That's crazy.
Then they send the bill. And I'm just like, no, I'm not paying this. And like, well, then, it's going to go against your credit. And they did. They threw it against my credit for a long time. Put it in collections and shit. And I'm like, I'm not paying this because it's free now. And you didn't charge me. You were saying that you don't know what it's going to be when you gave me the test. But now that the government's saying they're free for everyone, but you're like, well, you got the test before they made that, so we're going to charge you. So they're trying to get the money as any way they could. Medical system in America is broken.
Yes.
But holy fuck, we gotta actually start talking about things. Let me go refill my coffee.
Okay.
And then we'll start getting into the spooky things because it's spooky season and we've talked about nothing spooky. What's up, guys? Regiment in this podcast is brought to you by G Fuel, the ultimate energy drink for gamers.
G Fuel uses a special blend of vitamins, antioxidants, and other natural caffeine resources to keep you from having those jitters or even that crash that you normally would have from other energy drink brands. So whether you're having a long gaming session or you're just having a long day and need a pick-me-up, G Fuel definitely has you covered. G Fuel also has a wide array of flavors to choose from. But if you don't know what flavor you want to try, they also sell variety packs on their website, and they even come with a cool shaker. So head on over to gfuel.com and use promo code Regiment at checkout to get up to 30% off. That is Regiment, promo code Regiment down here at checkout to get up to 30% off.
So, went up, took a fat poop because of the coffee.
I love that.
And I was like, I'm going to get me some water. So I grab a glass that I got from France and go put it under the ice machine, dump some ice in, fill it with water, look at it. The ice hitting it cracked it.
Oh.
So Kate's up there putting some stuff on it, like some resin to try to cover it up and then use it for something else. Because she's like, this is sentimental. You got this from another country. And I'm like, okay. I was just going to throw it away.
I have a lot of glasses from Italy.
Yeah.
It was like a thing that I did. Every time I went to a bar or restaurant, I'd steal a glass out of it.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a thing.
I did that in every country I went to.
Like, it was like my thing. Like, I wasn't, every time I went to a bar or restaurant, I was leaving with something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the meme with fucking Denzel Washington, I'm leaving here with something.
Yeah. Just like that.
It literally was like that. There's one time like I didn't have anything to steal, so I stole the VIP rope. I don't have it anymore, but I stole the VIP rope.
Me and my buddies were in Asheville, North Carolina, and we went to this one bar where they obviously there's so many breweries there. Their taps are constantly switching. And they had the way they would do it is they would take a piece of wood and they would paint it with the name of the beer and the flavor and theme the painting based off of the beer.
Mm-hmm.
And then whenever they didn't have it on tap anymore, they would take that wood and they would put it in the bathroom and nail it to the wall. Well, we saw that after being there for a little while, and my buddies were like, I'm walking out of here with something. And they all went into the bathroom one by one, found their favorite one, ripped it off the wall, put it in their jeans, and then ordered an Uber. And we left, got back, and they all had signs. I tried to, but my conscience was like, I don't want to. And I think I was wearing shorts, so I couldn't really.
Sometimes you can't let your fucking conscience be your guide.
Exactly.
Jiminy
I was
Cricket
like, I know my luck. I'll be the one to get caught.
Yeah, well, the thing is, you got to be very blatant about it. You got to be very blatant about it. You have to, like, not act suspicious, but act like you're supposed to have the thing that you have.
Yeah.
And no one questions it.
If you just act like you're supposed to be there, no one cares.
No one cares. Especially if you're stealing something like that, act like that you're supposed to have it and then leave. Mm-hmm. Act like it's yours. Oh, that's mine. Anyway, bye. Then you leave.
Yeah.
There was a guy that stole. We had every time our unit deployed, there was an artist named Dietz, and he would make a painting based off of the deployment. And they were called the Dietz prints, and they sat in the brigade building of the paintings of the actual deployment. They represented the deployment, even though it's the newest one was very stupid because the deployment sucked. But one of the guys that was processing out, he was kind of a shitbag, and we all suspected him of this. But 3 of the prints got stolen because brigade moved buildings, and during the move, 3 of the paintings disappeared. And they locked down the base, searched everybody's rooms, dragged everyone's shit out of their rooms, was literally going through everything. Never found them. Fast forward a couple years, they ended up on eBay, and it was that guy.
Oh, man.
And we all suspected he did it even before we found that out. He totally took it because he was already being discharged. He was being separated, medically separated. And he was just so disgruntled with the unit because of how they treated him. He went through a divorce, and he was living off post. And you know how it is in the military when something happens, they often side with the wife, regardless of what she does. And I've even seen this. My best friend, like when his wife was, they were going through their divorce, it was literally she had to commit a straight up crime in the country for them to finally believe him that she was the problem. Because like the MPs put him in the barracks, gave her the house, the kid, everything. He was stuck in the barracks. They treated him like shit. His wife was sleeping with his platoon sergeant. She was going to parties on the off-base housing and shit, banging all these dudes and stuff. They didn't care. They blamed him. They said he was abusive, but he wasn't. She was crazy. And it wasn't until the other wives reported her to the MPs for stealing medication. And the Italians were like, "You're done." And they sent her out. And they're like, "Well, you have they told my buddy, you have your house back." Anyway, this guy, he was married, had a dog and everything. Hi, Kate.
Brock says hi. Sorry, she fixed it up as best she could and put it on my desk, so now it's just like a centerpiece. Sorry.
Yeah. So they were going through divorce. He had a dog and everything, and then she literally, like, he got kicked out of his house. She left Italy, and they told him that he's going to have to surrender his dog to be euthanized. And he said no. So he was he hid his dog in the barracks.
I don't blame him.
That's
crazy.
And people that weren't part of the brigade team were like completely like helping him hide the dog.
Yeah.
Because it was like, no, good. Like, you know, not this dude lost everything through the divorce and you want to kill his dog. No. So well, he knew the dog would be euthanized because he had to surrender the dog to a shelter, and they would euthanize it because it was a German Shepherd, and Italians don't want German Shepherds.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like all these shelters are kill shelters. So the dog was gonna get euthanized. So it was like, no, I'm not surrendering my dog. It's the only thing I have left. And he's living in the barracks with a dog, and people kind of covered for him. And every time an inspection came, someone would take the dog and bring it to their off-post house. But the guy was kind of a shitbag, and he stole the fucking paintings and put them in his household goods because they were getting packed up, and the household goods were fucking, and they even looked at his household goods manifest and didn't see anything, but he hid them.
I'm honestly, after you give me this guy's background, I don't know if I blame him.
I don't blame him either. Honestly,
I don't blame him at all. Good for him.
The unit fucked him so much, and I was just like, hey, whatever. But what the fuck was I getting at with this?
All right.
I don't remember.
We were just talking about stealing shit that's not yours.
Oh yeah, stealing shit. Anyway, okay, so let's get into some spooky shit, right? So there was some Native American remains found on Fort Benning. Apparently this happens a lot. And I personally believe that like every field that you've gone to that's cursed is cursed because of shit like this, right? Mm. Now, Germany was different. They don't have Native American burial grounds there. But I will say this. 2 of our training areas were former Nazi SS training grounds.
Fuck.
So... Grafenwehr and Hohenfels, Germany. Hohenfels was where the SS trained, and Grafenwehr was where all the other Nazis were. There's even a tower in Grafenwehr. It's like this nice tower that was actually Hitler's lookout, so he could see over the training area.
That's crazy.
And it's still there. So everything that sucks about Germany is because the Nazis. So Hohenfels, this was the weirdest training ground ever. Radios didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say they didn't work, I mean they would often lose their crypto, or they just, you could be on one side of a hill, and it's not even a big hill. You could have guys at the top of the hill, and you're at the bottom of the hill. You can't talk to each other. I even talked about this with somebody. It was just we were kind of making jokes. Oh, no, it was with the Milsim group I play with Arma, because they've been to Hohenfels. I'm like, the one thing I fucking hate was how comms didn't work. And he's like, you notice that too? Comms just don't work. I'm like, there's something in the ground. It's got to be. There's no reason why, like, your radios with fucking all the amplifiers and massive antennas, you have no communication. There's no reason. Yeah. There's something cursed in the ground there, and I think it's because of the Nazis. But I think, like, in places like it even says right here, Oklahoma and Texas, like, I am not shocked that there are Native American remains found on Army bases. So let's actually go. I went to the Facebook article about it. Fort Moore. Now, this is 2016, but these things still happen. So every month on Free Benning Bus Tour, we talk about the communities and people that populated this land long before it was Fort Benning, including the Creek Indians. Aside from the more than 60 family cemeteries all across the post, guests are always intrigued to learn that we do, on occasion, with less and less frequency, unearth the remains of Native American burial sites. The following article, edited for space, written by Vince Little, appeared in the Post newspaper in 2011. So, Fort Benning, Georgia, utility workers installing an electrical line under the parking lot on Main Post came across the human remains last week and immediately alerted authorities, who believe them to be from ancient American Indian burial ground dating back 2 or 3 millenniums. It's a long time. Representatives from tribes in Alabama, Oklahoma, and Texas already at Fort Benning for scheduled consultations meetings with post leaders joined historic preservation specialists in the Environment Management Division's Department of Cultural Resources, that's a long name, for site excavation, sifting through dirt clumps for bones, artifacts, and pottery fragments. The discovery was made November 14th. Ted Isham, Cultural Preservation Manager of the Muskogee Creek Nation of Oklahoma, said that tribes are sifting through the dirt piles to pinpoint the exact burial spot and screen for traces of any more remains. The goal is to find as many as possible and arrange for their ancestors to be repatriated and properly reinterred on Fort Benning, which has a facility at an unidentified location as part of its cooperative agreement. What? There's an unidentified location that is for Native American burials?
Probably just don't want people going and fucking with it.
I didn't even know they would keep it on base, though. But then again, it is federal protected property, so it would make sense to keep it there. Breaking the surface of the earth and potentially disturbing the deceased is a very significant act for us, so we tend to not take it lightly. Our ancestors came from here. Isham said Thursday. There is a great cooperation between the Indian nations and the federal government. We have a good relationship with Fort Benning. That allows this excavation work to be done in an efficient and expedient manner. Nobody intentionally digs up a grave, but now we can figure out how to mitigate the situation and give them a proper burial. Which is true. You can't really, especially when they're ancient graves, you don't know they're there because they're not marked anymore. And like you can probe the ground for like utilities and stuff and find nothing. Because your sensors can only find certain things. You're looking for, is there any gas deposits, gas lines, anything that we need to know before we start breaking ground? And human remains often don't show up in those. So he said that the two U.S. laws guide these reclamation efforts: the National Historic Preservation Act of 1966, which obligates installations or agencies to notify tribes whenever remains or artifacts are found on federal property, and the 1992 Native American Graves and Repatriation Act, I'm saying that wrong, I know it, which covers anything that gets dug up. The team uncovered burial plots for at least 4 individuals last week, Isham said. Major finds included a femur, tooth, gorget, and tribal neck piece or necklace. The latter is a relatively pristine condition, indicating one person must have been a chief or an individual of elite status. He said in earlier estimates by archaeologists at the site put the remains at 2,000 or 3,000 years old, within the late woodland and early Mississippian period. Damn.
Okay. So what we said earlier about, like, you know, the U.S. government being real bad to Native Americans and everything, that didn't apply to those remains.
No, because those had been around. They were like thousands of years old at that point still.
Yeah, they're around before people even knew that this continent existed.
I mean, like before, like you mean like Eastern cultures realized that this continent existed?
Yeah. Before it was like really, really documented, like by, more modern civilizations,
Right.
at the time.
The Gorget is a significant piece, said Robert Thrower, culture director and tribal historic preservation officer with the Porch Band of Creek Indians at Atmore, Alabama. It lets us know it's not your typical burial. He was a very important person. The odds of finding something like that was astronomical. It was in perfect condition. That's the other thing. A couple thousand years old and it was in perfect condition.
Mm-hmm.
Don't touch it. Leave it there.
It's crazy.
Just build around it.
So where we even the way we even heard about this, I had a story submitted to me on TikTok because I've been doing a bunch of the, as we talked about before, a bunch of the like ghost stories and everything
Spoopy
like that.
Stories,
and, yeah, and people will send me their accounts on military bases of like spooky shit that's happened to them or things they just can't quite explain. Anyway, this guy sent me one, and he said he was on Fort Benning. He was an MP, and one night he was going around checking gates, the locks, chains, all that stuff, making sure everything's good. And he went out to this one, and he heard the sound of like drums and chants that sounded Native American. So he turned on his flashlight and was looking around out into the woods and couldn't see where this noise was coming from. The only thing that he saw was glowing eyes looking back at him in like the general direction of where the sound might have been coming from. He said when he saw that, he immediately booked it back to his vehicle and did not get out of his vehicle until shift change.
Yeah.
For the rest of the night.
Can you imagine just off in the darkness? Like,
I'd shit and run, dude. I would evacuate my bowels and sprint.
Dude, fuck no, dude. That's and so the ghost story shit like that reminds me of that land nav course I was telling you about. So going into detail with this course because now it's relevant. So we had to put the points out. We did it during the day, but we had to go sit at the points, but we couldn't do it like the day before because we'd be out there sitting there all day, all night, and then all into the next day. So what we did was we went, put the points up, came back to the start point, slept in a van. And then when it came time to wake up, now the other thing was the weather was really shitty. We had a storm roll through the mountains. So it's storms in the mountains are fucking freaky because you are close to them. Like, Imagine a storm cloud of lightning and it's no shit 100 meters above your head.
Yeah.
Like, it's
terrifying.
Fucking horrible. So when the lightning strikes, you are intimately close to the lightning when it happens. So it's just like, it's freaky. So like it rained all fucking night and then it rained into the late hours in the morning or the early hours in the morning. And it was like, all right, guys, time for us to go to the points. So I put my fucking poncho on. It's raining, because if it ain't raining, we ain't training. And my point being the farthest one away, which the reason why is because they said you're the forward observer. You're better at land nav than everybody else. So we don't want to just send anybody off to the fucking no man's land. And I'm like, God damn it. So
damn it. It sucks being specialized in this kind of shit.
I know. It's the one time where it's like the cool guy shit sucked. So, and I had a certain amount of time to be there. So it wasn't like I just had to like mosey through the woods and find my point. I had to be there before the course started. Because if I can't find the point, they can't either. So we're walking. They took me as close to it as they possibly could, because the roads through that area, because it's in the Alps, there's only so many roads that you can take. So they told me which direction the point was in, pulled out my compass when they drove off and dropped me off of the road, turned on all of my fucking lights, and I was like, this is going to be really shitty. Because it was foggy, it was rainy, and it was the darkest I've ever been in my life. It was so dark. I had all the lights on, and I still couldn't see. Like, I was walking through an open field, and I could only see maybe 10 to 15 feet in front of me. That's how dark it was. The light just didn't want to go farther than that. And I was like, dude, this sucks. So I'm walking, and we have our radios and shit. And, I'm kind of like, I'm checking my GPS, and I'm checking my location on the map and seeing which direction I got to go. Over the radio, I hear one of the infantry guys. He's just like, and this dude has been on multiple deployments. He's a staff sergeant, and he's like, something's fucking following me. And we're like, hey, say, because like because of the mountains, like you can't get radio in certain areas. So like we're kind of relaying off each other. And that was the other horrifying part, is that like when you can't get comms and shit's going down and you're like, I'm alone. Oh my God. So he's like relaying, he's like, something's fucking following me. And I'm like, say again? He's like, something is fucking following. No radio etiquette. That was all out the window. He's like, something is fucking following me. I'm like, how do you know? He's like, I could see its eyes. He's like, I think it's a wolf. Because it's walking. He's like, it's walking in a circular pattern around him as he's walking. And he's like, it's fucking following me everywhere. He's like, I keep looking over there. I see its eyes. He's like, I think it's a dog or something. And I'm like, oh, it's probably a wolf, dude. We're out in the middle of the fucking woods and the mountains. Like, I don't know what else it could be. And then he's like, there's another set of eyes.
Oh no.
There was more. He said he's like, there's another fucking set of eyes. And then he's like, there are 4 sets of eyes. And he was panicking on the radio. And then somebody, like one of the start point guys he was just like, do you have anything to like defend yourself? He's like, I got a fucking stick. That's what he said over the radio. Over the radio, he's like, I have a fucking stick. And they're like, Roger, just kind of, we'll see what we can do. Like, basically, we're trying to tell him, like, hey, what's your point number? We'll come and we'll give you a knife. That's what else can we fucking do? And he said he got to his point, and like, he went radio silent for a while. And he's like, they're circling the point, because he got to his point, and they were just walking around the point looking at him. He said it was just like pairs of eyes just going like this around him. And he even said like he had a stick. He's like, like that at nothing. He didn't even know what it was. He really didn't even know what it was. So he still didn't even, like, afterwards during the day, because the eyes went away. He never could tell us what he thought it was. He said, I think it was wolves, but the locals say there are no wolves out here. So what else? But what else travels in a pack and circles you? If there's no wolves out here, then what the fuck else was it? Wild dogs?
Maybe.
So I don't know. But anyway, on my part of it, on my side, lonely darkness, dude, walking through, and I'm like watching for trenches and shit. And here's the other thing. These woods are fucking haunted. They are haunted because World War I battleground, death all around you.
Yeah.
Death.
Yeah.
Caves were being used as medical points, trenches. People were getting their fucking bodies blown apart.
Probably still walking on bodies.
Oh yeah, I'm probably still walking on the remains of someone somewhere. And I'm walking through, and like, I think I hear voices. I think I see things in the trees way off in the distance. And I'm like, I fucking hate this so much. But I still had to get to my point. So I kept walking through the woods. And then when I got into a field, I was like, oh, thank God. It's wide open. I can like see everything around me. But it also was freaky because you could only see so far. But when you're in the woods, it's so dense, everything looks the same. That was the first time I ever realized why people get lost in the woods at night, or in general, is because if it's so dense, everything looks the same in every single direction. So unless you have a compass, you don't know where you're going.
Yeah.
That's why you could walk in circles, because everything looks the same. Unless you're marking your path, you don't know where you're going. So I finally get to my point. I set up. And that was also very unsettling, especially because I hear over the radio one dude's got shit chasing him, and he's at his point holding it down. I'm sitting there. I got my back against the tree. I have a light going this way, a light going this way, and a light going forward, because I'm like, I can't have 360 eyes right now.
Mhm.
I can only do as much as I can. So like as I'm turning, I have one light turning with me, and I'm like, this is gonna be the moment where I turn, and then there's gonna be something in the darkness standing right there looking at me. That was like the most unsettling shit ever. Cause like when you can't see and you have one light source that's looking in that direction, and you can't see the peripherals of that light source, that once you finally get direct, I'm like, I'm gonna turn this, and there's gonna be some shit fucking face looking at me, and I'm gonna be like, I don't know what to do right now. Even though it was illegal, I had a knife, and it was like this fucking long. It was a big ass knife. So I brought it with me, and I was just like, I had it in one hand and I had a light in the other hand. I'm just like ready for fucking anything. And then the sun started coming up, and that was like, nothing ever came of it, but it was so eerie. Hearing things, seeing things, people on the radio being followed by animals that they don't even know about. So yeah, that was being alone in the woods is kind of freaky. And I can only imagine how this dude in Fort Benning felt with that, because, and this brings us to the land nav story of the witch on the land nav. Now, this could very well have been a drill sergeant fucking with him, but a lot of weird things happen in the woods, especially like out in that area. So I wouldn't be surprised if he legit saw some weird shit.
Well, really quick, just to share mine's short. It wasn't anything paranormal or anything like that. Like I said earlier, it was a sleep deprivation thing, but it was creepy enough. I think we were in Greece for this one, and we had been walking all fucking day, right? It was a force on force exercise, right? Us versus the Greeks. And or maybe it was the Italians. Anyway, I don't know. Like I said, that shit meshes together. But we're walking all day, and you were saying your trenches were like super steep and everything like that. Part of that was they had a bunch of like drainage ditches and stuff, because we're walking through people's farmland. Like we're walking in people's backyards.
Yep.
And a couple times we'd walk up on it, and it was so dark you couldn't see, and we were under nods, so we obviously couldn't use our white light or anything. So you can't see until you're falling into a like 6-foot concrete ditch.
Because
and we
no
had a
depth
couple
perception
people
either.
just like they would just eat shit trying to climb into it. And I remember jumping in, dude. That might have been the most painful little jump I've ever done in my life, with full gear on and not realizing how deep it actually was until I jumped in, and my knees fucking buckled, and my face, like my chin, like hit my knee. I was like, oh God. Anyway,
I think we actually narrowed down where your knee injury came from.
probably, yeah. So we do that, and then we finally get to the end for the night. We're like, all right, everyone's having a terrible time trying to make movement right now. We're just fucking diddy bopping around. Let's stop. Let's bed down for the night. Okay. So we do that. And everyone was so exhausted. We didn't even talk about security, who's pulling security, who's doing any of that shit. We just sat down. And we sit down, and me and one of my buddies in my squad, we're sitting next to each other. Everything goes real quiet because everybody quits moving. And I'm looking through my nods out into the woods, and I start seeing like heads like pop around trees and stuff like that. And we knew we were getting like close to where the other force was. So I'm sitting here thinking, oh fuck, we just stumbled upon, the other guys. And I look at my buddy, I'm like, you see that? What are you talking about? I'm like, right over there. There's someone peeking around that fucking tree. I see him moving. And he looks out in there, and he's like, there's no one fucking there, dude. I'm like, no, there is a person like looking back at me right there. He's like, there's no one there. I'm looking where you're looking. There's no one there. I'm like, oh, fuck. I must be exhausted. 2 minutes later, I pass out, and it felt like in 5 minutes I woke up and the sun was coming up. And I look around, everyone is just passed the fuck out.
Oh, shit.
Like, oh,
no one's pulling security.
No one pulled security. We all fell asleep. And it was one of those, like, you could tell, like, all the staff sergeants and, like, gunnies and shit, they're out there. They're like, we're not going to say a fucking word that nobody pulled security last night. No one brought it up. No one said a word about it. We were like, all right, let's keep moving.
A lot of people don't realize that there are a lot of operations where everyone is just as equally tired. and everybody just fucking, they forget to think about fire guard or pulling security or radio guard and shit, and they just fucking, everyone zonks out, and then everybody wakes up at the same time, and they're like, oops, anyway.
All right, we're just gonna act like that didn't happen.
Yeah, well,
Like we didn't get attacked, so we're good.
Oh, and then they're like, hey, how come we couldn't get you on comms? Like, I tried hailing you guys like several times. No one was responding. That was often mine.
Like, oh, okay.
I fell asleep on an OP and I'd be like, hey, we couldn't get you on comms. I'm like, dude, it's the fucking rocks around here. I can't, like, I'm constantly I told them, like, I moved over there, then I moved over there, and I moved over there, and I still couldn't get anybody. And they're like, yeah, it's been really rough out here. I'm like, yeah, it's been really rough out here. There have been times where I was like, what? Like, I'm like laying down on the OP, looking through my binos, and I'm drawing my terrain sketch. And then I'm kind of like looking there, and I get really comfortable, and I just fucking nod out. And I got my headphones on because I got the Peltors. So like, and the volume all the way up. So anytime a transmission comes to me, it's loud. And I'm like, yeah, Roger. You know, no one knows that I'm actually passed the fuck out, not watching anything. But
that's funny.
So yeah, this dude in Land Nav in Fort Benning. So he says, this is what he says: the witch in the Fort Benning Land Nav course. So I went through the 22 weeks of infantry OSUD, and the worst experience I had was the individual night Land Nav. I was in the middle of the swamp around 2 a.m. looking at my map. Suddenly, every hair on my body stood up on end, and my red light flickers. I turn it off, and I start looking around when I spot a silhouette of a woman in what I can only describe as a pioneer's outfit. I looked away for a second and looked back. Nothing. I told myself that I was seeing shit, picked the direction I thought was good, and started walking. I start hearing the crunching and breaking of leaves in the rhythm of my steps behind me, as if someone was matching my pace, and my hair stood up again. I stopped and looked behind me. Nothing. I continued walking, and the same thing happened. I looked again. Nothing. I decided that the 3 points was plenty for tonight and started booking it. You know what? You know, that passes by. So as I'm running, I clearly hear and see something jumping from tree to tree. Keeping pace with as I cut through the woods, sprinting at full speed. I'm not the fastest, but at the time I had a 13:45 and a 5-second 40-yard. Nothing could have moved that quickly through those trees. I make it to the starting point, turn in my shit, sit on my gear. Another guy comes running about 15 minutes later. We still have 2 hours left at this point, so it makes sense why he would be in a hurry. He does this. He does his shit, sits next to me, turns to me and says, dude, did you have a point in the swamp? I gesture at my boots and pants. Yeah, can't you tell? He said, yeah, sorry. But anyway, did you see a woman in he said, pioneer outfit? Yeah. I was writing down my points info when my light started flickering and I heard something in the tree above me. I looked up, saw her sitting up in a tree above the point, just staring down at me with lifeless eyes and an empty face. I ran faster than I ever have, and I didn't stop until I got here. It's at this point where the guy sitting behind us leans forward and says, y'all saw her too? We nod. I started walking into the swamp when I saw her sit up out of the water, slowly turn at me. I frozen like I only broke out of it when the LT walked up behind me and asked what I was looking at. I looked at him and pointed, but when I did, she was gone. No noise, nothing. This kid was an honest dude, and I could tell by the look on his eye that he wasn't fucking with us. I want to know if anyone else has had this experience with this same entity. Very interesting. Fort Benning. And in the comment section, if you did land nav in Fort Benning and don't bullshit, let us know if you've seen this too. Let's go through the comments. It's the ghost of Jody Past. Bro, I'd be willing to bet anything it was one of your drills fucking with you. And when I did nav, my drills had gone to sniper school, wore a ghillie suit, snuck up and scared the fuck, and just to fuck with people. Maybe just ask the other guy that has skinwalkers, blah, blah, blah. So I had an experience in basic during individual night land nav. I'm not sure where you experienced the witch, but I was at the Yankee North course during the 22-week OSUT course. Around 2 or 3 a.m., I had been to most of my points and was walking a hardball road on the edge of the boundary. As I was walking, I realized that I was hearing footsteps maybe 10 meters in the woods on the out-of-bounds side. At first, I thought it was an animal, no big deal. A few steps later, I was hearing the footsteps. The problem was they were keeping pace with me perfectly. but I would only hear a step maybe every 4 or 5 of my steps. This suggests that whatever was walking alongside of me was very large. My heart started racing at the thought of this, so I decided to pick up the pace. I started walking very fast, and the footsteps never lost pace. I started jogging, and they were still 10 meters away. I started sprinting, and they were still landing every 4 of my steps left of me. I never got a look at what it was, nor did I have any intention to do so. I just kept moving and kept my eyes forward due to the sense of pure fear and dread. I was nearing the turn off from my last point, but decided I'd be better off just skipping my last point since it was so close to where I am, and kept running until I got back to the start point. When I sat down, I asked a few of the guys if they walked the hard ball at the edge, and 2 of them said exactly what they did. That said exactly what they did. I asked if they heard anything strange, and they described exactly what I heard. The hair on my back of my neck rose, and I didn't sleep well out there, even though there were 200 of us. Our experiences were not the same, but I never saw what was hunting me, so maybe it could have been related. Either way, there's a lot of really strange activity in those Georgia woods. So this one says people hallucinate all the time during schools. Also, there's a lot of pigs and deer and coyotes at Red Diamond. Alternatively, it was Old Man Jenkins trying to keep you pesky kids away from the land nav field. Using the pioneer ghost woman myth, he could scare away young soldiers while searching for gold doubloons where the shipwreck were.
That's pretty good.
But here's the thing. So yeah, I can get it. We've all at night been really tired and weary during a course and seen shit. But it's when everybody sees the same thing that's like, we can't possibly hallucinate the same thing at different times.
Yeah.
That's when it gets weird, right?
100%.
So this one says nighttime hallucinations are some real shit. During land nav, no matter what base or continent I'm on, I eventually get to a point where I hear footsteps following me. I inevitably see something come after me in the dark, and I feel like I'm being watched, no matter where. Under nods, I've hallucinated seeing entire enemy patrols walking up to my location, crocodiles crawling towards me, and even a person standing right next to me mouthing words at me. That being said, I've also seen shit that couldn't have been a hallucination because other people around me saw it too. Like silhouettes sprinting through a mount site at 1 a.m., 5 minutes after the live fire finished. No one alive should have been left there after what we threw at it. Drums and chanting in the mountains of Hawaii, and footsteps coming upstairs in an empty building while we were on fire guard. Just pay your respects, don't ask questions, and get out of their territory. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Piss test in 3, 2, 1. It says, I don't know, man, but fuck running around the woods at night on my own. I see enough shit that isn't there as it is. Just got to put it out there. Marines probably would have tried to fuck it, so there's that. I'm still looking to see if there's any serious comments of people saying that they have any real account of this. But so far, no one does. I mean, except for the one that had like a similar experience that said, seems like something was, let me look at this. Fort Benning Land Nav Witch.
This comment says, need to sacrifice a virgin cyber intel private. Look for the soldier with the anime figures.
Fucking facts.
No,
there's
Tales from the Grid Square has a story about it.
Does he?
On Instagram.
What,
yeah.
the witch
read it?
Send me so Tales from the Grid Square, where's that at?
It's on Instagram. Here, I'll send you the link.
Tales from the Grid Square. So he has a story of the Fort Benning witch. Is that what you're saying?
I think it's the Fort Benning one. I'm realizing he doesn't say. It's called the Box Witch Strikes. JRT. Oh, this is Fort Polk. This is JRTC.
Fuck JRTC, by the way. Let's see here. Let's go to it. Is this like... All right, so it says... Is there like a link to an actual article? Or is it just an Instagram post?
Well, it's an Instagram post, but so the way he does it is he just takes what the person says and puts words over like a picture. And you just scroll through and read it.
So it says the creeper. I know the box witch at JRTC has been mentioned here before, but I wanted to share my own encounter. I was at OCT and at JRTC a few years back. I had gone to refuel and fill up my ice chest. Here, I gotta move this here. Gone to OCE. Hang on. Let me start over. So it says, I was at OCT at JRTC a few years back. I had gone to refuel and fill up my ice chest at OC East and was on my way back to link up with my rotational unit. I took a road on the perimeter of the box, mainly so I could haul ass to the west side without running into RTU maneuvering. It was nighttime and raining, and the road passed. It was nighttime and raining, and the road passed an old family cemetery at an intersection that had been there for who knows how long. As I was slowing down to stop, I saw a figure standing in the cemetery, what looked like a dark poncho. I stopped and got out thinking that it was a soldier from the RTU that was messing around and got lost, maybe an EXROE casualty that was wandering around. I yelled at the figure, "Hey, what are you doing?" This figure let out a loud, high-pitched scream and then disappeared into the rain, followed by the smell of sulfur. Oh, that demons.
Mm-hmm.
If Supernatural teaches you anything, it's demons.
I was about to say anything. It's Sam and Dean Chester. Sam and Dean taught me one thing.
Sulfur means demons.
Mm-hmm.
I hauled ass to my Humvee and took off. I linked back with the rest of my OC team and told them what happened. One of the guys then told me how the night before they were down around Smith Villa, and when he went back to check on RTU, saw a figure similar to what I saw standing over a soldier sleeping on the ground. When he got closer, the figure took off. Fuck. Can you imagine like a demon thing fucking hovering over you and as you sleep in the woods during a fucking JRTC?
Be terrifying.
I'd be pissed. I was like, I'm already miserable, dude. Do you have to fuck with me during this?
Can you leave me alone, please?
Can I suffer in peace, please? So throughout my time there, we would find figures, shrines, in the training area that looked like something out of the first season of True Detective, but the encounter in the graveyard was by far the creepiest. But you know, all this stuff about being in the woods and shit had us thinking about Wendigos. Because we did talk about Native American burial grounds and shit being creepy in the woods and stuff. Wendigos. Wendigos, if you don't know what they are, they're a cannibalistic monster or evil spirit from Algonquin folklore. Now, I talked about how I was looking around for reasons why there aren't very many Wendigo movies or shows. There's some mentions of them in shows, and there's a couple of movies that loosely reference them. But as far as like straight up Wendigo, I think the closest one that's like straight up about a Wendigo is called Antlers.
Mm-hmm.
It was good until the end. And the end was just weird. But you know, there's
Antlers.
Yeah, Antlers. It's called Antlers.
Okay.
So
2021.
So Wendigo, a mythological cannibalistic monster in the spiritual tradition of North American Algonquin-speaking tribes. It is associated with winter and described as either a fearsome beast that stalks and eats humans, or as a spirit that possesses humans, causing them to turn into cannibals. There are many different spellings in the pronunciation of Wendigo. In Ojibwe, the term is defined as a winter cannibal monster, but its name may derive from the Proto-Algonquin word Winnetkowa, meaning owl. So some legends say that the Wendigo is an emaciated figure with ashen flesh. Others describe it as a giant creature up to 15 feet tall, or as a beast that grows larger the more it eats. It may have sunken or glowing eyes and sharp yellowed fangs and claws. Its lips are chewed or entirely missing because it has eaten them. It may be hairless or have fur. It may have pointed ears and horns or antlers like a deer. It smells of rotting flesh and usually is first detected by humans by its horrible odor. Wendigos are believed to have exceptionally sharp eyesight, hearing, and sense of smell, as well as superior strength, speed in order to stalk and overpower their victims. They live in colder climates among the woodlands and lakes of Canada and the northern United States. They can move easily through deep snow, across ice. A shaman may be the only person who can subdue and destroy a Wendigo. using either a silver, steel, or iron bullet or dagger. Some legends, however, claim that the Wendigo's heart must be cut out and melted or burned in a fire before its spirit is truly vanquished. So the Wendigo is sometimes described as a spirit rather than a physical presence. In Cree mythology, for example, the Wendigo is believed to be an evil spirit that possesses humans. The spirit enters the person by biting him or through a dream. The possessed person becomes a cannibalistic or otherwise deranged or violent. Some people are believed to be more susceptible to becoming possessed by a Wendigo, including those who are greedy or gluttonous, as well as those who are suffering from hunger or starvation. The colloquial phrase for this experience is called going Wendigo. That's the other thing, greed and gluttonous. So everything that like all the movies that I've seen that have a Wendigo reference, it's usually like someone's being greedy, like someone's trying to take, like the one that I saw, what was called the last winter or whatever the fuck, where they were like digging for oil in Alaska, and weird shit was fucking happening, and then everybody dies. Because they all like weird shit happens, everybody starts killing each other, and like you see like a really shitty CGI spirit of a Wendigo. So the history and cultural impact, and here's the thing, right? So even though that I am kind of like, hey, I don't know how real some of this shit is, right? But it's weird to me that you have multiple cultures that experience the same thing and have a similar description of it, which is weird to me, right? So it's like, yeah, because we haven't seen it, we automatically chalk it up to it's not real. But you have all these other cultures, that, like dragons, for example. So many cultures around the world that never interacted with each other all have a depiction of dragons. Why? Did they actually exist at some point? But then everyone's like, well, we never found any remains of dragons. It's like, well, maybe we just haven't looked in the right places. We're always finding shit, you know?
Yeah, we're always discovering new shit.
Is it outside the realm of possibility that we had dragons at one point?
Could you imagine if one day we just hear on the news? Breaking news: dragons are real. We found the remains, and it was surrounded by ancient gold. So it's true they hoarded gold. Like,
fuck, they found Smaug. God damn it! The dwarves are going to be wondering.
That'd be crazy.
The dwarves are going to be pissed now. So, the Wendigo culture. So the Wendigo legend exists in the oral history of North American tribes predating Europeans' arrival in North America. Some anthropologists believe the legend developed as a cautionary tale about the importance of community to guard against individual greed, selfishness, and isolation. The Wendigo was a personification of cold and hunger in a time when human survival relied on banding together and sharing resources, particularly during the long, harsh winters in the northern wilderness. The legend may also have served as a warning to children not to wander into the woods. That's usually the case, like when you don't want your kids to go fucking off. You scare the shit out of them. Or there's a spot you don't want them to go to because it's just like it's annoying that they do. Stay out of that. Monster's going to get you. So the first known written mention of a Wendigo appears in 1636, reported by Paul Lee June, a French Jesuit missionary living among the Algonquin people in what is now Quebec. Lejeune described a woman who warns of an action that had eaten some tribal members nearby, that would eat a great many more of them if he were not called elsewhere. A few instances of murder and cannibalism in North America were blamed on the Wendigo. These included the case in Alberta, Canada, 1879, where a Cree hunter and trapper named Swift Runner claimed a Wendigo spirit had entered his dreams and told him to eat his family. He was tried for murder, found guilty, and hanged for his crimes later that year. Another case occurred in 1907 among the Sandy Lake First Nation community in Northern Ontario. The tribal shaman, Jack Fiddler, and his brother, Joseph Fiddler, were charged with the murder of Joseph's daughter-in-law, whom they had strangled to prevent her from becoming possessed by a Wendigo. Very, very odd, but okay.
Yeah.
After the brothers' arrest, Jack Fiddler escaped. The police escaped the police and strangled himself, and Joseph Fiddler died from tuberculosis in prison in 1909. All right, Arthur Morgan. By early 20th century, the term Wendigo psychosis was being used by psychologists and missionaries to describe a culture-bound syndrome among Native and First Nations people whose symptoms included delusions of becoming possessed by an evil spirit, depression, violence, a compulsion for human flesh, and in some cases, cannibalism. The syndrome was also diagnosed retroactively in historical cases of cannibalism in North America. However, the existence of the syndrome is disputed by some scientists. For centuries, though, indigenous artists and activists have drawn on the Wendigo legend both literally and metaphorically to address such issues as colonialism, violence, and environmental destruction. American writer Louis Edrich's poem Wendigo tells of a man trapped inside a Wendigo who abducts a young girl, who in turn releases his spirit. Her novel, The Roundhouse, which centers an Ojibwe boy in North Dakota seeking justice after his mother is raped, uses the Wendigo legend to explore views of retribution and justice among the boy's tribe versus those of the U.S. government. In the 21st century, activist Winona LaDuke coined the term Wendigo economics to criticize corporations' cannibalistic effect on Earth. Since the 19th century, the Wendigo legend has also captured the imagination of non-Indigenous authors. In The Wilderness Hunter, the future U.S. President Teddy Roosevelt includes a goblin story about a bear-like beast that stalks the camp of two hunters, leaving only one to survive and tell the tale. Readers have interpreted Roosevelt's beast as either being the legendary Bigfoot or a Wendigo. British writer Algernon Backwood's novel, The Wendigo, tells a similar story of a mysterious monster hunting a campsite in the Canadian wilderness. An American novelist, Stephen King, features a Wendigo in the horror story Pet Sematary. Pet Sematary is about a Wendigo?
I've never seen it.
You've never seen Pet Sematary? So Pet Sematary is like, it's like there's a burial ground, right? Where people...
Yeah, and it brings things back to life.
Right, it brings things back to life. So people will bury their pets there, and their pets will come back. And they're like, has anyone tried burying a person there? And they're like, don't ever do that. And then, of course, Pet Sematary is the dad loses his kid, and he wants his kid back, so he buries his son there. And his son comes back, and his son is like, it's not his son anymore.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize that was about a Wendigo. I just thought it was like evil spirit, like because it was on a Native American burial ground where they did this.
Well, now that you know that, you should probably go back and
watch it again,
rewatch it, and be like, you'll probably be like, oh,
oh, it is a Wendigo. So yeah, like the Wendigos have also found their way in the plots of television shows such as Hannibal. Really? Oh yeah, Hannibal. Video games such as Until Dawn, and comic books including The Incredible Hulk and Wolverine. A Wendigo character also appears in the action film The Lone Ranger. Despite the plot's southwestern U.S. setting, the director Scott Cooper and producer Guillermo del Toro's Antlers, the Wendigo is a deer-like creature in the story that combines supernatural horror and generational trauma in a small-town setting. Did you notice that the Wendigo in Supernatural doesn't look anything like that?
Yeah. It's still a really good episode.
It's a good episode, but it doesn't have antlers or nothing.
No. But I like that they kind of take their own on a lot of those like creatures, like beings. They're just like, we're gonna make our own little thing here with it, which I think is fun.
Yeah, I think it's fun too.
They try their best to stem it in reality.
There's a lot of things, and it's people are always like, we never see these things, right? So it's like they can't be real, which I get it. Like we have no evidence of any of this shit being like real. But there's also a lot of forest that's like completely unseen. That is just so dense that we just don't go traveling in there. Like what lurks in the woods that we haven't explored.
Exactly.
You know,
like it's we've like you talking about space earlier. Like, we're all fascinated with space, but we still have so much of our own Earth that we're just like, oh.
I was explaining.
Could you imagine
what
if we found the evidence to, like, one day, like, just some piece of evidence
that Bigfoot's
just
real
came to the surface that, like, all of these cryptids and everything, we're like, oh, that's the missing piece. They're real, or they at least existed at one point. All of that is true. Could you imagine how society would be affected?
Nowadays, society probably wouldn't give a fuck. Do I still have to work? Do I still have to pay taxes? Then I don't care. Is it going to pay my bills? Like, that's just that's everybody's mind now. And I honestly, and this is the little tinfoil hat in me, but I think that's by design. We're all being purposely beaten down to where these crazy events we don't care about anymore.
Yeah. I mean, shit.
Aliens
the whole
are real.
alien thing.
Aliens are real.
First
Thank
happened.
you. I can't pay my bills. I'm going to be homeless. Oh my God, Bigfoot's real. He killed people. That sucks. Anyway, I got to go to work today.
Yeah, that's true. Well, yeah, on that part of society, yeah, 100% wouldn't change much, but definitely the spiritual aspects of people's lives would 100% change.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Especially like religion. If aliens ever came down and told us things, it would probably like make religion become, people from like religious people would be like, what the fuck? What do I make of my spirituality now? And just
or on the flip side, I mean, just being fun with it. What if that happened and they came down and they're like, no, you're like everything. You're in the ballpark. You know what I mean? They're like, you're in the ballpark here with everything that y'all believe. Like, that stuff is generally like real. You know what I mean? But they're like, it's not exactly the way that you have written it.
well, then
That'd
they'd
be
be like,
even crazy too.
that would be crazy. They would also be crazy. Be like, well, then tell us. Like, no, you got to figure that out on your own. Bye.
Yeah. It'd be like everyone's sitting here like, I think that would get covered up though by just the internet being the internet.
Oh,
People would just
not even
go
that.
back to how it is right now.
The people in power, like the government, would 100% cover that up. I mean,
yeah.
look at with alien shit, right? We all fucking know that they find craft that are likely not of this world. Everyone talks about Bob Lazar. Bob Lazar back in the 80s talked about when he worked on one of the sites at Area 51, what he worked on. He was a rocket propulsion engineer, and they had him try to reverse engineer the engine of one of these craft, right? And he explained how they flew and how the reactor in that craft worked. And they all said he was crazy. Fast forward to now, when we have legitimate photo from the Department of like video from our aircraft tracking these things, like, and they're flying exactly how he said they did.
Yeah.
They function exactly how they said he did, how he said they did. He wasn't lying, but they destroyed his reputation. The FBI tried fucking screwing him over for his entire life. His life was ruined, even though he's still like, is a physicist and shit. And he's still like, delves in all that science stuff. He's a professor and stuff, but they tried to erase his college education to show that they basically erased the records of him being in that college. And if it weren't for the fact that he had classmates account for him being there and teachers saying, no, he was a student here, nobody would have believed him. The records, his records were just gone, right? Because he went public with this shit. And they tried fucking ruining his life about spilling the beans on these things.
I wonder if that the powers that be, right, that have done that and tried to cover up a bunch of different things, and just be like, no, that's not real. Trust us. Back when newspapers were the only form of media.
Right.
I wonder if when the internet started, they were like, oh, fuck.
Like, oh, no.
This is going to come to bite us in the ass at some point.
Oh, yeah, because everybody can get their information from anything. But now the only way that they could combat that is to flood it with bullshit.
Yeah.
And fact checking and all bullshit and manipulate the search engines and then fill all the search engines with bullshit articles that aren't real to kind of drown out the truth ones. So that makes the ones that are telling the truth seem crazy like the rest of them.
And I hate that my thought right now is like even entertaining this idea. I'm sitting here thinking like I sound like one of those tinfoil hat wearers right now. Like I sound like I sit in this basement and research government conspiracies.
Well, here's the thing.
nonstop.
So here's the thing
But
about
it's
that,
like-
though. Here's the thing about that. They do that. They have been, and they've admitted to doing it, and they've been caught doing it. Even Mark Zuckerberg said that during the election, like, he was paid to fucking manipulate shit on Facebook.
Yeah. Which is what I'm saying. Like with your point of them flooding everything with bullshit and manipulating search engines, it's happened so effectively that it makes me feel that way.
Yeah.
Just entertaining the idea. It makes me feel like I sound crazy. You know what I mean?
And that's why I think that they're actually going to Congress and telling these things, because they're like, there's no way they're going to eventually find out about it. Yeah. You know, technology's finally caught up to us to where we can't really hide things as well anymore. And also people just tend to talk. So we're just going to start. And that's the other crazy thing, right? Everyone looks at it like a distraction. Maybe it is, but maybe it's just that they're tired of hiding it. And they're just going to put it out there because they know no one's going to care anymore.
Yeah.
I think
they're like, here's God's honest truth. Here's what it is. Because it sounds a lot less like it's a lot less riveting when the people that are hiding it are the ones to be like, no, that's true. Then you're like, oh, okay. Well, what else are you hiding? You know, and then you move on to the next thing.
And it's crazy because it's like when they actually came out and said that they admitted in a congressional hearing that the Pentagon, as part of the Department of Defense, actually has a UAP investigative division where their whole purpose is to investigate unidentified aerial phenomenon. Where they take all of these fucking videos from pilots and shit and investigate it, and all the pilots from both coasts see the same shit in different parts of the world. And the two things that they've noticed happen: these aircraft or these craft or whatever they are often off the coast, East Coast or West Coast, or over military installations. Particularly ones that have nuclear weapons on them.
That's interesting.
So that's why like a lot of like the videos we see is all military footage, because these things pop up around those areas. And some of them they look different. They say some are cubes, some are shaped like a tic tac. One of the pilots, Commander Fravor, he was talking about how there was like a cross-shaped object in the water that raised out of the water, and this little fucking tic tac thing was floating over it. And then when he got close, the cross-shaped object sank into the water, and the tic tac, boom, darted off. And he said it moved so fast at them. And then there was even times where there was even cases where they were trying to target it, and it was jamming the targeting system.
That's wild.
Yeah, they were trying to lock onto it so they could watch it, and it was actively fucking with the targeting system, so it couldn't be locked.
Are we just being studied, or are they preparing like the ultimate invasion?
I honestly think we're being studied. It's not even that. I think our resources are being studied, because here's a physicist actually brought it up like this. He said that it could very well be that the way that we use fuel is something that they have no capability of. How we burn carbon-based fuels, how we use fossil fuels like oils and coal and all that shit. Maybe they don't have those, and they look at our technology as like groundbreaking, right?
Yeah.
Because that is something they don't have. Like, they're like, how the fuck did they do that? How are they able to do this?
Which is a kind of cool like thought process to go down, because like if you just look at how our phones, right? How the fuck did we go from making a wheel and being like, that's crazy, right, to being like, I now know how to take and send signals through the fucking air to where you can see them clear as day.
Yep.
I can see you right now and hear you as you're saying it in the moment you say it, because we somehow figured out how to fucking make that happen. Maybe we're being studied because, like you said, they, like, in their timeline, they just didn't figure that out. But they figured out other things that we're like, we can't crack the code. But they're like, we know how to do that, but we don't know how the fuck you're doing all this other shit. That's crazy.
Like, I mean, if you think about it, if you really think about it, like how our phones and computers work, we basically took shit from the earth and now we made it into this electronic that that is like a computer in our hand, essentially, off of minerals that we made from the earth.
Which is insane to think about. Like, this started as fucking useless dirt and
lithium and ore and
shit.
And oil and
then
shit.
we just learned how to process it to now have an image, and I can call my family. I can get the knowledge of the world at my fingertips because we learned how to manipulate minerals.
Yeah.
Like, we're fucking geniuses, dude. The human race is smart as fuck.
We are smart as fuck, but then we look at the other extraterrestrials out there, and it's like, so like one of the things about the reactor that Bob Lazar was talking about, how the propulsion system works for these craft is that they manipulate gravity, and that's why they're
crazy.
And that's why they're able to move so fast. It's because they tilt and the bottom is where the reactor warps gravity, so it slides through the air because it's using gravity as the propulsion. So basically what they're saying is it takes the gravity, it manipulates it around, and then pushes it. It uses gravity as the propulsion system,
which is just like they just studied something different than we did.
Or they had
more time into studying,
or they have a material that gave them the means to be able to do that, and it's a material we don't have.
Very true.
And it's like, well, you know what we could do? Why don't we just do a science collaboration with them?
Yeah.
Like, hey, show me yours and I'll show you mine type thing. How'd you do that? We'll teach you how to do that.
That'd be crazy.
That'd be crazy. Instead of like just, like it's like another intelligent species. They look at us like an intelligent species. We see them as an intelligent species. And it's just like, hey, how did you do that? Cool. We'll show you how to do this. Granted, be careful because it's really bad for your atmosphere. But,
you got all that shit. And then you also got, you start interacting with other beings and you bring in disease and stuff like that we're like, fuck.
Or they bring us disease and shit. Like they got some fucking alien parasite.
It would totally be both ways. Like they'd get sick from us. We'd get sick from them.
Yeah, 100%. It's just like, yeah, because, and that's the thing about, I wish that we could figure out how to use gravity as in propulsion. If we could figure that out, space travel would change forever. You have an unlimited fuel source. That's the one reason why we can't do anything. Actually, that's the second reason why we can't really travel far. We don't have the fuel source to get us there, and we don't have anything that can reach the speed fast enough to get us there without dying before we get there. So there's an astrophysicist that's on Sean Ryan's show talking about how if we can figure out how to travel at the speed of light, we could reach the Andromeda galaxy within 4 years of our travel. Now, the reason why, because it's 4 something light years away, the Andromeda galaxy, which is the closest galaxy to ours. The speed of light, how fast is the speed of light, kids? Let's look at this. How fast is the speed of light? It is 299,792. Wait, no, that's meters per second. So it's 299,792,458 meters per second. That's the speed of light. How fast in miles per hour is that? That's 670,616,629 miles per hour.
That would you turn to mush.
However, they calculated if you had the means to accelerate to the speed of light at 1G, which is the amount of force that a human body can handle for an amount of time, it would take you 1 year, 1 Earth year, to reach the speed of light.
Hmm.
So you could get to the if you had the means to get to the speed of light, it would take you 1 year to reach it if you kept the acceleration up at 1 g. So you could gradually reach the speed of light and stay there and be fine. It's the acceleration and the deceleration that would fucking kill you, right? So
Okay.
if you can accelerate to, and this is all physics, and I'm not a physicist, I don't know any of the formulas to do this. I am bad at math. I just know that in order to do this, I just know how it works. I just don't know the formula to show it, right? So if your rate of acceleration matches the G-force, you're fine. It'll take you longer to reach that speed, but you'll be okay. Now I'll give you an example. So when you're in an airplane, how fast, let's look real quick. How fast is the flight of an aircraft? How fast do commercial planes fly? Commercial planes fly around just under 1,000 kilometers an hour, which is 475 to, which is about almost 600 miles per hour. Now, if you went from 0 to 600 miles per hour within a few seconds, you'd pass out or die. Probably pass out because the G-force. Now, planes, when you're flying commercial, you don't go to that speed very fast. You gradually reach that top speed. You ever notice when you're flying, the only time you really feel the G's is when you're taking off and turning.
Yeah.
So you ever notice when you take off and the plane banks, you kind of feel like dizzy and shit? That's G-force pulling you down. Now, you're not going at the top speed yet, at optimal flight speed. You're working your way there over time to keep you at 1G. So, and then often, like, you'll have the pilot come over the intercom, say, like, when you're able to actually get up and walk around the cabin, that's when they reach cruising speed. The amount of time it takes from takeoff to cruising speed is them gradually getting to that speed without fucking you up with G-force. Same with driving on the highway. When you accelerate on the highway, let's say the speed limit's 80 miles an hour, unless you're an adrenaline junkie and floor it to get to 80 miles an hour as fast as you can, the gradual acceleration to get to 80 miles an hour, you don't feel it, right? So that's how it would be with the speed of light. You accelerate to the speed of light. You don't just go to the speed of light.
That makes sense. And then that's also, like your point, we just don't have enough fuel to maintain it.
We don't have the fuel and we don't have the propulsion to do so, to reach it. But that's literally the only thing that we need to reach that speed is the fuel source and the propulsion system to make it possible. And then it takes you 1 year. Like if you have with the right acceleration to keep you at 1G, if that acceleration just keeps going up and up and up and up over time to keep you at 1G, it would take you 1 year to get to the speed of light. And after that, it takes you 4 years to get to the Andromeda Galaxy. Now, how long would it take you to with our propulsion system? Now, here's the other weird thing, right? I'm about to blow everyone's mind with this. The frame that you are in that speed of light, you don't age the same way as everybody else on Earth will. So how long will it take a rocket to go 1 light year? 27,000 years to travel 1 light year. with this ship that we have now.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. You're just going so fast that Earth's not going that fast. By the time you get back,
everyone's gone.
Who knows? Everyone.
Now, that's accounting for if we got our rocket to travel 1 light year distance, because light years isn't just distance, it's time, right? It's speed and time. So 1 light year with a normal rocket to travel the distance it takes to cover a light year, it would take that rocket 27,000 years to do so, right? A plane at 600 miles an hour would take 1 million years to travel 1 light year. A car would take 12 million. A person walking, it would take you 216 million years to travel 1 light year.
Holy fuck. You might even come back and there's Nothing.
How about this? The Earth, at the speed that we travel at 67,000 miles per hour in orbit around the sun. It would take us 10,000 years to go 1 light year. Our solar system orbits a galaxy at 448,000 miles per hour. It would take the solar system 1,500 years to travel 1 light year. So if we could...
Wait, hold on. Say the Earth going around the sun again.
The speed that we go around the sun within our orbit is 67,000 miles per hour.
Okay, and that's how many years to go a light year?
10,000. The solar system, because the solar system is also moving in an orbit around a black hole in the center of our galaxy. The solar system is moving through our galaxy at 448,000 miles per hour, and it would take the solar system 1,500 years to travel 1 light year. So light year is basically like the amount of time light takes to get to you, right? So at the speed of light. So if, let's say a star turned on in the sky 1 light year away, we would see the light of that star 1 year from now. We wouldn't see it instantly because it's so far away that light actually is like photons and all that shit. That's how we see light. All the stars in the sky that you see, hang on.
Regiment in this podcast is also partnered with BR Paradox. BR Paradox is a company that specializes in custom-built PCs. So if you have an idea for a cool custom-built PC, they can definitely give you the hookup on that. But if you're not in the market for custom PCs, BR Paradox has a wide array of pre-built PCs that you could choose from at great prices. And if you're not in the market right now for a new PC, BR Paradox will definitely hook you up with an optimization. Optimizations take around 10-15 minutes to do, and they're very awesome, and I highly recommend them. I had my PC optimized by them, and it's never run smoother since. BR Paradox also has a list of renowned customers ranging from LeBron James, Chris Brown, members of FaZe Clan, and even Angela White from your favorite orange and black site, if you know what I mean. So head on over to brparadox.com to get yourself a PC today or an optimization. And remember to use promo code REGIMENT at checkout. That's promo code REGIMENT down here at checkout.
I just discovered that my sump pump is no longer working.
Your what?
Sump pump.
What's that?
It's the pump that keeps the water from being in the basement.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You don't know what a sump pump is?
No, it's the first time I've ever had a basement.
Okay, well, now you know. The only reason why you don't have water in your basement is because you have a sump pump.
Oh.
And
all right, very well.
And when that goes out, your basement floods.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Anyway, all right, so a little bit of emergency, folks. I have to get off here, so we have to end this episode. But anyway, it was good having you on. We're going to try to do another one this weekend.
Absolutely.
More spoopy things. All right, kids. Well, I love you all. Appreciate y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Sorry to cut this a little short, but I have to go take care of something. So we'll catch you on the next episode of the Barracks Party. Love you guys.
See y'all next time. Love y'all.
Bye.
Bye.